Hi, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Awesome. So today, if you don't mind, I'd like to tell you all a little story. And for this story, you can choose to either close your eyes or you can keep them open, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. But the main idea is I want you to use your imagination and picture this scene inside your head, okay? It's going to be great. The sun is slowly rising, casting gentle shadows along the suburban landscape you call home. And you find yourself walking down this dusty, overused gravel path that you've been down 1,000 times before. You know it like you know the back of your hand. And all around you, there is just so much plant life, so much foliage, so much vegetation, whatever you want to call it. The point is that it's everywhere, just everywhere. On the ground, you can see there are these dead leaves and flowers littering the forest floor, and way, way, way above your head are these very, very tall trees. And the leaves and branches are blocking out the sunlight. And on these exact same trees, you can see these vines snaking their way around the trunks. But that's not the end of it. There is so much noise around you. In the treetops, you can hear the gentle humming of cicadas and katydids. And up in the treetops as well, you can also hear birds of all species chirping and chattering away. And it's all very pretty. You know, it's like this natural melody of wildlife that can only be found in nature, this orchestra. But sadly, it's a melody that you've heard many times before. So much that at this point, it's pretty much background noise. You're just too preoccupied in your thoughts to pay any mind to these sounds. You're thinking about the rest of your day and how busy you're probably going to be. So you continue walking down this path, just consumed and wrapped in your thoughts, when all of a sudden you hear the abrupt snapping of twigs and brambles that breaks this melody you're so used to hearing, and you're just surprised, what could it be? And you turn around, and standing right there, just a few feet from you, is this skinny-legged, long-nosed female deer. And wow, it's beautiful. Its eyes, they seem to be staring right through you. And it's so very still. It's almost like a statue. The only signs that this is a living creature are the slow rising and falling of its chest. So the two of you continue having your little staring contest, so to speak. That is until you start to notice a small figure gingerly creeping out from behind this deer's leg. Very, very small creature. It has these spots, these white, tan, brown spots all over its back and flanks. It has these very, very, very skinny, skinny legs. It's like someone decided to grab a pile of bones and wrap some skin around them. And at this point, it's very obvious that this is a baby deer. And this is a family. That deer's a mother. And you know, you may just be imagining things here, but you can almost detect this mixture of fear and curiosity in the eyes of this child as it perfectly mirrors its mother's behavior. So you keep staring for minutes that feel like a few hours. And soon, just out of nowhere, the mother deer whips her tail up, and just like that, they are both gone. They've zoomed away, winded their way around a few trees, and they've disappeared into the overgrown vegetation of the woodlands. They are just gone. And you're just standing there. You're in a bit of shock at what just happened. The expressions these animals had, it was so interesting. They almost seemed human. And you've never been that close to a wild animal that is just that large before. So you continue to stare at the place where they once stood, secretly hoping that they would come back, maybe grace you with their presence again. But you know that's not going to happen anytime soon. However, you do start to notice something weird on one of the trees where the deer once stood by. Something about the bark, I think? Well, it appeared to be moving, but that's impossible, right? And you believe at first that your mind is just playing tricks on you. You've been out in the sun for a while, what can I say? But that is until this bark in question sprouts a pair of dusty brown wings and dismounts from the tree and slowly flies up higher and higher into the treetops. Well, it's clearly a moth, and you're just kind of lazily watching it go. You know it's going to disappear from your line of sight soon. Until, out of nowhere, this flash of red and brown swoops down and snatches the doomed insect in its beak. And it just flies in a flash. It lands on a branch right above your head. And your mouth is just open, you're in shock at what just happened. You can see that this moth is still alive. Its little wings and small little wings and small little legs are just moving, beating furiously. But you know it's fighting a battle that's already lost. And this bird just swallows it without second thoughts, and just like that, it's gone. Now, the story I've actually told you all right now, I've actually experienced these things before. Well, I've observed them before. Just not all at the same time, and not at the same place, and definitely not all at once. The thing is that things like this in nature are very easy to find. It doesn't take that much to look around you to see that there's activity of animals and plants all around you. But the sad truth of this is that when people are outdoors, they don't really seem to notice them. And I mean, I guess that's understandable in a way. You know, we as humans, we're a very productive, ambitious species. We're always thinking about the next big thing. We're always trying to improve ourselves and look back on our past mistakes and see how we can make them better, how we can make ourselves a better person. But because of this, we're never in the present mindset, at least as much as I think we should be. Which really is a shame. Because you know what? Nature, it can teach us so much. So much. And I'm not just saying that, oh yeah, well, the banana slug, you know how big it can get? Or, hey, you know how tall this flower can grow? You know what week it grows? No, not stuff like that. I mean, you can just pick up a history book to find out that stuff. What I'm saying is that by observing animals in their natural habitat and seeing them go through all these wonderful, or at least or even average and everyday experiences, you know, struggling, succeeding, being with their families, hunting, dying, living, we can relate to that. And we can maybe learn or discover something about ourselves through the experiences of this animal. Or maybe this plant or fungus, I don't know. For example, you know that deer in the story? Well, it saw you in the woods, and it was obviously very scared of you. Who knows, it may have never seen a human before in its life. It didn't know what you were. It didn't know what to expect. It was terrified. But it didn't run away from what it was scared of. At least, not at first. You know why? Because it had something that it wanted to protect and preserve. And that was its child. It wouldn't run until it knew that you weren't a threat to its child, and until it knew that both herself and her child was safe. Only then did she run, and she still made sure her child followed her. And this may seem silly to some of you, but I actually kind of relate to this deer in the sense of my TED Talk. I have to admit, I'm really scared right now. This whole experience is really scary for me. I don't think I've ever been given an opportunity like this before. And even if it is scary, I also think it's a wonderful experience, and it's something that I'm very fond of. I'm not just going to run away from it and leave it be because I'm scared, because I feel like I have something important to say here. I want to protect and preserve this TED Talk. It's a unique opportunity. Even though it's terrifying, even though the process of doing it had a lot of ups and downs, some of you might know yourself personally about that, but the point is that I'm not going to run away from something that I'm afraid of just because it's something I don't know. Because even though it's scary, it's also very interesting and very unique, and I'm glad to be here. You know, the thing about nature is nature is always in the present moment. It never thinks about what's going to happen next or what's happened previously. Even as animals are preparing for, I don't know, the next week or the next winter or hibernation or whatever, they're still focusing on what's happening right now. And part of the reason is because, you know, animals, they don't have as much going on in their lives as humans do for the most part, or they're not as complicated thinkers. But still, imagine if humans were always in the present moment. Maybe when you're outside, you'll see something interesting, and you can relate to what's happening with this animal. For example, let's say you're walking down a path, and there's a pond, and you see a female Canadian goose blanketing a wing over its delicate children. Maybe that reminds you of how you're a bit overprotective of your children, or maybe it reminds you of how much you love your family, or maybe something completely different. Who knows? The point is that we each get something different from nature, but we often get exactly what we need. And next time you're outside, I encourage you to take a look around you. Maybe you'll find something incredible. Or maybe you'll find yourself. Thank you.